just reaching the kind of closing phase of the project with the main contractor on site. Starting to see spaces coming together, everything's getting there with a view to handing over the keys, which we're really excited about getting at some point later this year. The sits as a great survivor. It's been on Gorbal Street since 1878. And at the heart of the building, you wouldn't necessarily know it from the outside, is this amazing sandstone theatre. And part of the project has been to reveal that all the way around. Previously that was all covered up in plasterboard and MDF. There's a lovely thing where you get this clash of old and new coming together, and Bennett's associates who have designed the building have really embraced that about us and tried to reflect that in the architecture. Anyone that knows the building of old knows that it was quite cramped and quite dark and not very accessible. Lots of stairs and ramps everywhere and a tiny little bar at the front. The new foyer is much, much more open, and when people step into that foyer, it's really light and bright and airy alongside the lovely kind of warm natural sandstone of the 1878 auditorium. So no matter where you are in the building now, you're conscious of this historic building right at the heart of it. The new studio theatre is fantastic. It's 140 seats end on, it's really flexible. It's got a tension wire grid where the technicians can run around up top doing lighting and sound at the same time as setting up underneath. We can get rid of the retractable seating bank and set up in the round, 155 seats. So the capacity and the size of venue and the flexibility of it is a venue that Glasgow really doesn't have at the moment. So we really want it to be a home for all of those companies that are developing their practice. Young artists, young directors, young companies, all of the smaller companies on the theatre circuit that really don't have anywhere to tour to in Glasgow at that scale. And we think it will be the place that when people have been working with us in participation work, the community shows and things like that will end up on in the studio theatre with participants working on those shows as well. One of the main things we did to make it accessible was bringing it down to the ground floor, so it's much easier to access from the foyer space. We've also managed to flatten out all of the areas to make it much more accessible for people coming in. So you come in flat and level from the street, and then you're flat and level all the way through into the auditorium. One of the other things that we focused on was the experience for performers and backstage. Previously, none of the dressing rooms for backstage in the Circle studio were accessible at all. So now we've got big communal changing rooms that are all accessible. We've got accessible dressing rooms for both venues that we've never had before, in addition to things like the big changing places toilets and all the other accessible toilets around the building. It was a project that absolutely needed to happen, or the building would have been lost. So it's great that we've been able to sort of preserve the building that was there, but also wrap it round with this kind of beautiful new building that gives us all of the new facilities that you'd expect a theatre to have. It's just fantastic that we've been able to preserve that building for the next 100 years.